I did a lot of like soul searching and self-reflection, and that was one of the things I was adamant about is, I had to make sure that if I'm trying to not come back to prison, I'm trying to change my life, I have to figure out what I did before so I can do the exact opposite, right? I'm one of the guys, I'll give you a shirt off my back to a complete stranger, and definitely expect nothing in return. Unfortunately, kindness isn't the currency that this world runs off of, so.
What was that root cause that kept leading you down that same rabbit hole?
I didn't like who I was. I didn't like who I was because I felt that other people. So I'm a classic people pleaser, right? And I do that because I want people to like me, because I feel like if people like me, then I can like myself, right? And when I was locked up, I realized that that's wrong. That's an illusion. Self-esteem comes from the inside, of how you value yourself. And I had to change a lot of things about myself.
We're gonna go ahead and start this off on the good camera. And today I'm getting ready to introduce another new guy, a really interesting fella that I'm just getting the opportunity to meet. And this guy's name is Ike. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. Sorry to just throw the camera in your face just like that.
No, that's cool.
Hey, let's walk and talk. We're standing
All
in the middle of the road right here. So you and I, we get together via a Craigslist ad that I posted asking for people who had interesting stories of trials and tribulations in their life. Mm-hmm. You reach out to me, we begin to talk, and you got a really interesting story of trials and tribulations, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can tell you're nervous.
Just a little bit.
Look, let me try to break the ice here a little bit. This is really interesting, you and I. Come on, let's walk, man.
Okay.
Meeting for the first time like this, because man, you look and have the same exact mannerisms as my wife's brother, and that is just kind of spooky to me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I know that she would see this and she would feel the exact same way. Unfortunately, he passed away. He was a great guy, and I get those same type of vibes from you. Just a good guy who's probably ended up in a world of shit throughout your life.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like me, man. I definitely I'm one of the guys, I'll give you a shirt off my back to a complete stranger, and definitely expect nothing in return. Unfortunately, kindness isn't the currency that this world runs off of, so I've definitely had my fair share, of ups and downs, and addiction has played a huge part in that. If you'd have told me, when I was younger, that I'd be an addict, or I'd be in some of the places that I've been in, as far as being homeless, being strung out on heroin, and just living this day to day, praying that the next shot of dope takes me out. That's a horrible way to live your life. That's not living, that's existing. I mean, where are you going to start?
Well, you've already shared quite a bit right there. Kindness is not the currency this world currently runs on. I mean, that's a profound statement right there. Let's walk and talk, man. I feel like that makes it a little more comfortable. I actually want to, let's go this way. That way I can stay on this side of you.
Cool.
Ike, how old are you?
Actually, I'll be 40 in a couple of days. So.
A couple of days?
Yeah.
When's your birthday?
December 7th.
December the 7th?
Yeah.
My birthday was yesterday.
Was it? Happy birthday.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's
I just
awesome.
turned 42.
Really?
The 40 sucked, brother.
Oh man, don't tell me that. 30 sucked, the 20 sucked.
Well, you look like you're wearing it a lot better than I am.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, my girl's birthday was this past Sunday, and she turned 33. And I told her, I said, man, I would give my right leg to be 33 again and try over, because, man, I spent so much of my life incarcerated, man, and just like I said, because of drugs and just stupid stuff, It's so crazy to think about. Like, I'm literally going to be 40. I'm at the halfway point, if I'm lucky, that most people are in their lifetime to, live to like 80s,
Yeah.
And it's like that Tim McGraw song, the next 40 years, right? I'm trying to be a little bit better in these next 40 years, man. But, it's so crazy. I mean, I went from doing, dope and everything that goes along with that. I'm talking about, because I'm homeless at the time, right? I'm homeless, got to get dope because I'm sick if I don't have it or whatever. So, what do? I get money any way possible, So it's get up, go to some stores or whatever, steal some stuff, but go return it to another one, get a gift card, go sell that. I mean, I'm not incriminating myself because I've already been, done time for it. But, I mean, and that's a daily thing that I had to do. Sometimes twice, 3 times a day. And it's like, that was my life. That was my job. That was my existence. And then the next life was, prison. And prison is a whole different kind of life, You can't be thinking about the streets when you're in prison. This shit, it'll drive you crazy. So, I've had other people ask me, what's it like, and I tell people it's like, when you go and get locked up, it's like you die. It's like someone dies or whatever, your family mourns for you, they pack up all your shit, they put it in the attic or they give it away or whatever. And, slowly but surely, if they don't keep in contact with you, they forget about you. And that was kind of my situation. And so I had to learn to survive on my own while I was in prison. I did 6 years from 2009 to 2015. And I actually got out, went to a halfway house in Richmond. I actually moved out of the halfway house and went to an area nearby in Richmond. And I didn't ask permission to move, and they gave me another year for that. So I went back to jail for another year.
They gave you a violation.
Yeah.
Absconded.
A year for that, yeah. So, and what's crazy is that the area, I thought it was all Richmond, right? And it's the difference between like Henrico and Richmond. And, they didn't want to hear nothing about that. They look at my record and they're like, yeah, you're old hat at this, like, they're not going to give me any kind of breaks. But anyway, I get out after that. I go, live with my parents. My parents still live in Pocosin. And I go live with them, and I'm clean. I'm doing good. I'm going to NA meetings. I got a job. I got this good girl and stuff, man. Like life's good, and it's difficult because it's trying to adjust after that amount of time of incarceration. Everything's just so different.
Let me jump in here a little bit. Shout out to Ike. Again, him and I are just meeting for the first time here. We're at a new park that he suggested, and what a beautiful place that this is. Just right out here on the water. Really nice spot. And definitely adding quite a bit to what we've already began to film here. And shout out to Ike for just getting into this and being so open and willing to share about him and the struggles that he's been through. I want to ask real quick, you mentioned obviously your issue with addiction. What's your current situation like with that?
One day at a time.
One day at a
time. When I got out this past time in summer 23, I got on Suboxone, and Suboxone saved my life.
It's interesting that you share that, because there was a guy named Lucky who I just featured maybe within the last 3 months, and he had a hellacious heroin problem. We got him into a detox program, and he got out of that, and there were a lot of people who were saying, man, you need to get that Suboxone. He did not do that, and unfortunately went right back to the same old stuff. But you are saying that it saved your life.
Absolutely. Suboxone definitely saved my life. The medication, it's not going to just do it on its own. I had to work, and I'm still working, to try and change things, to try and, figure out good coping skills or whatever. So I don't, because my old coping skills was, I don't feel good, or I'm mad, or I'm sad, or I'm lonely, or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to go get high. And that's not a good coping skill. That's like, it's basically, going backwards. So now I have to figure out other coping skills. So when I do feel mad, or when I feel sad or lonely or whatever, what do I do? And a lot of times I feel like in my past, I would do things to isolate myself. And isolation is terrible for an addict, because it's when your demons attack you. You know, it's when your demons really, you know, can prey on you. So knowing that, you know, and this is all stuff that I figured out, you know, this time that I did this, the second time I went to prison for, ironically, six and some change. You know, I did a lot of like soul searching and you know, self-reflection, and that was one of the things I was adamant about is, you know, I had to make sure that if I'm trying to not come back to prison, I'm trying to change my life, I have to figure out what I did before so I can do the exact opposite, right?
Man, that's powerful right there. Interesting what you share about the loneliness and the isolation, the worst thing for an addict. A guy named Richard, who I just got the opportunity to feature yesterday, his drug of choice was crack cocaine, is crack cocaine, and that's a big part of his problem is the loneliness, the isolation. He mentioned, you know, he just needs something.
Yeah.
Some form of something.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for him, right now and for most of his life, that's what it's been is the addiction.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's giving him that sense of whatever.
Well, and what's sick sometimes is that, like, I've caught myself to where I'm like, I'm clean, I'm free, I'm out in the life, but I don't feel like it's my life. Like, I've been in addiction so long. I've been in addiction since, you know, I started doing like, I got hurt on a job site in like when I was 19, and of course I go to the doctor, and at the time they were prescribing OxyContin like it was candy.
Yep.
And so I was prescribed 3 Oxy 30s a day, right?
Holy moly.
Yeah, and so for a back injury, and this went on for probably about a good month and a half, and then my doctor just took me off of them like that. And
that was it. You were hooked.
Well, the thing is, I didn't know anything about dope sickness or anything like that. So I feel like one day, you know, he takes me off of him, you know, the next day, I started feeling like I'm catching the flu, and this is the summertime. I'm like, what is going on? And man, I called one of my buddies, and he's like, I'm telling about him. He's like, dude, you're dope sick. I said, well, what cures that? He said, dope.
Oh my God, man.
And so, you know, I go, you know, start, and this is the turning point in my addiction. This is where it goes from, you know, where I didn't have to go and do the seedy things. I didn't have to go out and deal with, you know, dealers on the street and deal with all the risk involved in that kind of stuff, you know. So I would go out, I'd go buy pills, and at the time they're, you know, $1 a milligram. So 3 of them a day, that's $90. We might as well say $100 a day. I mean, I was doing welding at the time at North Shipco, and I mean, I was making good money. I was married at the time, and I had my 2-year-old daughter. And I was holding it together, you know, until it wasn't holding it together. And then a buddy of mine introduced me to heroin, and it was a cheaper version, and it, you know, it lasted longer. And ironically enough, the person that introduced me to that introduced me to using it with a needle. And the crazy part is, years later when I met up with him and I explained, you know, we were talking about life because we actually met up while we were in the county jail. It's kind of tough. He told me he was like, I was like, man, why did you ever show me, you know, that needle? I said, man, that altered the whole course of my life in my addiction. He said, man, he said, you went behind my back to go to the to my dealer without me, because I used to have to go with him down to his dealer or whatever, and if I was getting something, I had to get him something too. That's a very petty thing to do to
so because
alter
you didn't,
someone's.
So because he couldn't get high with you that one time,
Right.
he decided to
Yeah.
introduce you to the needle and make sure that.
Yeah.
My God. Let me ask you this. You mentioned the back injury, the pills, where that begins at. The trouble in your life, you've been to prison multiple times.
Yes.
You going to prison, is that a direct result of the addiction?
Definitely.
So before the back injury,
Mm-hmm.
what was your life like? Were you getting in trouble? Had you been in trouble?
Man, actually, yeah, I actually got my first felony when I was 18, and it's on a humbug. A buddy of mine, him and his girl were down in North Carolina, and he was like, dude, I'm stranded down here. Can you go to my parents' house and get my car and drive down and come get us and drive us back? He said, you know, I'll take care of you when we get back. So I go to his house. His parents aren't home or anything like that. I call him, and you know, this is before everybody has like a cell phone. This is,
right.
You know, we have flip phones and stuff like that, right? And I called him and I was like, hey, look, man, ain't nobody home. He was like, well, just go in the house or whatever, get the keys and then come. So that's what I do. I get the keys, I go, and I drive down to North Carolina. Well, I get down to where Nag's Head is at, and I keep calling him, can't find him. Well, it's getting dark. So I stop off at a parking lot, and I park for the night, and I sleep in the car. So I figure I'd, start the search the next morning. I get a knock at my window, and it's a North Carolina cop. And he says, can you step out of the vehicle? And I was like, for what? And he was like, this is reported as a stolen vehicle. And I was like, what? I was like, this is my buddy's, car. And I explained the whole thing to him. Long story short, when I get extradited back to Virginia for it, I actually get grand larceny auto. And they give me 10 years with 9 years, 9 months suspended. I do my first jail bid, which is, 3 months. But from that time, like that, every little technical violation, I've got more of that time back. Or even when I did, major stuff or whatever as a result of my addiction. So, I mean, even before that, addiction, I've learned, is a symptom of something greater. Addiction is just a symptom, like a cold, right? You cough and sneezing or whatever. Obviously, it's because there's something in your system that's causing that. In relation to addiction, for me, I had to figure out what that root cause was. That just using the drugs and stuff like that wasn't, or even just making, poor decisions or impulsive decisions and stuff. That was all details of something that was greater. And like I said, I had to figure that out while I was locked up this time, because honestly, if I didn't do that and figure that out, it would just be a complete cycle again of incarceration, before I knew it.
What was it that you had to figure out?
Well, I had to,
I think for everybody it's probably different.
Oh, definitely.
And then for you had to figure it out for yourself. What was that root cause that kept leading you down that same rabbit hole?
I didn't like who I was. I didn't like who I was because I felt that other people. So I'm a classic people pleaser, right? And I do that because I want people to like me, because I feel like if people like me, then I can like myself, right? And when I was locked up, I realized that that's wrong. That's an illusion. Self-esteem comes from the inside, of how you value yourself. And I had to change a lot of things about myself. But yeah, I mean that was my root. Why I did these things, why I would just go ahead and go in someone's house and get their car or whatever and go all the way down to North Carolina, or why I would do the things I would do or whatever, even if it's just simple things like back in the day, like it'd be nothing to be like, say you're a friend of mine or whatever, and you need $20. Well, it's $20 the last money I got in my pocket, but you're my friend, so here I do it. And in my mindset, well, you do it for me, but come later on when it comes down to I need you, it doesn't happen.
You're a classic people pleaser. I like that. I can relate to that. I feel somewhat the same. And I want to bounce around a little bit and talk about your prison experience.
Okay.
You, while in prison, a similarity you and I share is that you were doing tattoos as well.
Oh yeah.
So you want to talk about being a people pleaser, you being the tattoo man.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody's going to like you.
Oh, absolutely. And see, it's funny you mentioned that, because in my self-evaluation, and I realized that that a lot of the reasoning behind why I would do certain people's tattoos before others. I mean, because how it is, people just bum rush you, or they want to, try and give you this deal or that deal, or, well, so-and-so's, this or whatever. Anyway, how prison politics and stuff like that goes. But I became a tattoo artist in prison because of necessity. When I got locked up, I didn't have family support. I didn't have no one. And like I do, the state pays 27 cents an hour, if you're 45 if you're lucky. But I became a tattoo artist because I've been doing art all my life, and that was one thing I actually had to change. When I got clean, I used to just do art. I get high and just do art. I draw and create amazing things. I'm talking about things, and I'm not even tooting my own horn when I say this. Like, I'm talking about stuff that that obviously people want it on their body, you know, like I'm not just talking about names or, you know, little hearts or something like that. I'm talking about, like, I've done canvases on people, like sleeves, you know, back pieces, leg sleeves, like all that kind of stuff. And, you know, like actual, you know, artwork, you know, and especially with a, you know, prison tattoo gun. I mean, that's like beard trimmer motors and like a spring or something, you know. I mean,
if you could do it with that, imagine what you could do with the real stuff.
Oh, I know it. Well, I mean, that's when I got out, I actually got a real setup. I actually have one right now, like one of the little pen ones. But what's crazy is, since I got clean, I don't really do art like talking about. And I find that sometimes that can even be a trigger for me, because if I sit down and feel like I want to draw something, I'll get discouraged because I'm not in that mindset, that high mindset or whatever. And it's for a split second, it's like, well, you know, if I could only get high, then I could, you know, I could let this, you know, creative juices flow, you know. And I got the better part of my mind, you know, the newer part tells me, yeah, that might be nice, but this is what that's going to cause. So do you really want to do that? I didn't have that voice before. I didn't, you know, it would just be, well, fuck it, I don't feel good or whatever, you know, or this is frustrating, I'm just going to get high to solve my problems. And, you know, you know, like I do, you know, that getting high stuff, it's a Band-Aid on a slit throat, you know. It's just, it might ease pain, or, you know, might help you solve whatever it's going through, or make you think it, whatever, or make you so high you don't even care about it. But it's always going to be worse after, and it's for me, it'll become a perpetual thing. And you know, NA, for what all it's worth or whatever, with its cliches, you know, when they say jails, institutions, and death, I mean, dude, I've done all three, and I actually OD'd when I was in prison this past time, and that's what made me stop, like really call it quits with the dope and everything, and get on Suboxone. But I realized I don't want that in my life. I don't want prison. I don't want, you know, how I lived before, the perpetual Groundhog Day. You know, like that movie with Bill Murray? Yeah.
Classic. All right, let's take a little breather.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna start filming again, because I don't want to miss whatever you're getting ready to say about it not being all doom and gloom.
I got you.
But go ahead. What were you saying when you got out?
Yeah, no. I mean, my story's not all about just, you know, doom and gloom. You know, it's actually, you know, when I realized that I didn't want to live that lifestyle anymore, and I wanted to be clean, and I wanted to actually live my life, I started to figure out what I was good at. And I've done construction all my life. So when I got out, actually, I planned on starting my own handyman business. And back in April, I actually got my business license, and I got my EIN number, and I'm on the way to try and start funding my business. Be able to get, like, you know, a vehicle. I've got tools and stuff like that.
Hold on, what are you good at?
Well, I do basically any kind of like remodeling or renovations. You know, as far as home wise, I really don't, you know, focus on anything like commercial, but I like to focus on like flooring and doing like tile and things like that. I'm actually really good at like framing too, like, you know, just building a house from like the ground up.
You know, it might be an interesting thing here. Actually, it's going to be a really interesting thing here. So I had a lot of different business ventures since I came home, and all of them failed, unfortunately. But my latest one was a painting and repairs business, and we were doing primarily apartments. We did a lot of drywall repairs.
Right.
And anyways, long story short, we failed. Prices were just horrible in that type of work, but I've got the opportunity to get back into it again with the apartments, and to be a subcontractor for one of the biggest guys in the area who's doing, I mean, pretty much all the renovation work out here.
That's awesome.
So if you want some work, hey, and if this price is right, come rock with me, man, because I got me and at least one other guy. But here's the deal. This is a guy that's doing millions of dollars in work.
Right.
Okay, so he's got a huge business.
Yeah.
He is connected to everything in terms of this. And when I said that I failed because the money was no good, I had a painting business.
Right.
Painting money is horrible in
Absolutely.
apartments, but renovation money is a different beast.
Oh, definitely.
So we would do things like countertops and cabinets,
right,
and flooring, and painting would be included in that, light fixtures, just basic, easy shit.
Right.
So if you're interested in that type of shit, I'm having the phone call with this guy probably tomorrow. Hey.
Dude, I'm definitely interested.
Okay.
I'm definitely interested. I mean, like I told you, about my girl's dad dying recently. I mean, it's really so crazy that that's what his job was. That was his job. He worked for another contractor. So when he died, she inherited his truck, all the tools, and basically the realization hit us, like we're she's grieving her dad, and we're talking, and she looks at me, she says, "You realize my dad just left us everything that you need to start your business?"
Man, good stuff there. And that's crazy because I have it all too. I've got the van, I've got the tools, I've got the know-how. I was flipping houses.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it'd be cool to see get to working, and especially working with us.
Yeah.
How crazy is it? Let's just go ahead and use that cliche thing. Everything happens for a reason.
It definitely
right?
does.
Not only do you have a hell of a lifelong story. I don't know if y'all can hear those planes flying overhead, but
yeah, Langley Air Force Base is like right over there.
Yeah. Well, at least I know I can't get the drone out over here. We got to take a little intermission anytime that the planes fly over. But man, hey, I like this guy, Ike. Ike's the man. And I'm hoping that you guys are liking him too. I want you to know we're putting it all on the line for this content. It's biting out here right now. It's a little chilly, right?
Yeah, it's brisk. It's definitely brisk. It's beautiful though. It's beautiful, and I mean, I was stoked about the experience when we were talking about it, and I'm still excited. This is actually a really cool thing to be doing. I'm hoping that I learned that our secrets keep us sick, right? And that's why if we continue doing more stories and stuff about me, I'll lay it all out there for you. I mean, raw as can be, like just truth. No nothing diluted, no embellishments or anything like that, because my story or whatever might be able to help someone else. They might be able to relate to it, and that little part that I might say, decide, oh well, I'm not going to tell that because it's kind of embarrassing or whatever. Nah, I'm going to tell you that because that might be the one thing that somebody can relate to, and it changes their life. Might even save it.
Look, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up because that was a hell of an ending point right there. I hope somebody goes in the comments and writes down every bar that you spit in this video because you spit some good stuff in here, man.
Thanks.
I want to wrap this up on this final note for the time being. I've talked about how you and I come to be. We've talked a little bit about the struggle that you've gone through with addiction and where you currently are with that because of Suboxone. Mm-hmm. What other kind of struggles are you currently dealing with right now? And I guess what I really mean by that is, let's just talk about your work situation. You're a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
You're a guy that's got an EIN number and a business license. What is your work situation?
Well, I was working for 7-Eleven on third shift, and
you were working at 7-Eleven?
Yeah, bro.
Dude, you were way too good for 7-Eleven.
Well,
I hate to say that, man.
I don't have a vehicle. I don't.
Do you have a license?
Yeah, I have a license, all that. Yep. So, like I said, I thought, thinking about starting my business, I was like, oh, this is gonna be easy. No, it's definitely not easy. So I've been struggling trying to, get funding to be able to, start that or whatever. But I was working at 7-Eleven just to, pay the bills. And I was working third shift, and there's just been this string of robberies and shootings and stuff like that out here. So they parked, cops there, all the time and stuff.
Clerks are getting killed.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm not doing, and her, like I said, my girl's dad just died, and so I'm all she has. So I'm not gonna risk my life, and I'm definitely not gonna do that to her. So I was like, dude, I can't do this. So as of right now, man, I mean, I don't have a job. I've been doing little gigs, find on Craigslist, or going to do little odd jobs here and there. And dude, it is a struggle, man. It really is, man. It feels like the more you get ahead, it's like you go 2 steps ahead and 3 steps back, right? Like the old saying. And it's crazy because sometimes in my head, it's like, man, it gets to a point of where it's like, dude, you're not even getting high anymore, and your life is still, still kind of crap, But I try not to focus when I get like that, I try not to focus on the negative. I try and turn that around and say, okay, but what do I have? What are the things that I'm blessed with? I'm free. I've got good health. You know, I've got a woman that fucking is amazing and loves me. You know, I've got a roof over my head. I've got food. You know, like when I start counting my blessings, I start forgetting all the, you know, all the dumb shit. And I try and put it in perspective to stay, you know, in the present. You know, not worry about the future and don't dwell on the past. It doesn't do anything. You know. But yeah, I mean, dude, it's definitely a struggle. You know, it's definitely people. You know. I guess when you get clean or whatever, you know, you get that honeymoon moment or period or whatever where it's like, oh God, I'm clean. I feel so good. I'm gonna go out there and try and save the world, you know, help everybody else get clean. And it's like you try and help people, and it's like every time, or the help that you give or whatever, it's like, you know, some people take it and some people won't. And then me personally, you know, I'm an empath, right? I've like to the max. Like I feel other people's pain and also happiness as well. But, you know, I kind of take it personally if, you know, I try and help someone and then they don't, you know, take it for and run with it basically. But I've learned that I can't do that. I have to help myself before I can help anybody else. And the best analogy I was ever given about that is when you get on a plane and they talk about when the oxygen masks deploy, right? It says, they tell you put on your mask first before you help somebody else put on theirs. Because if I help somebody else put on theirs, I don't care if it's an old lady or a kid or something like that, or even someone who's disabled that can't do it themselves. If I don't put mine on first, I could die before I help them. And I mean, that's in anything, you know, and I try and take that into mind when it comes to as far as like helping people, especially now. Like, you know, like I said in the beginning, you know, I give the shirt off my back to a complete stranger, but I've learned, what is that really doing? Like, what does that act of kindness, yeah, it's an act of kindness or whatever, but what does it perpetuate, right? Because it's like, you know, when you throw a rock into a pool or whatever and you got like the ripple effect, you know, I might be helping this person, but what is it doing? You know, it might affect them and help them at the moment, but what is it doing for me? You know, and small stuff.
You give your shirt off your back to somebody right now, your ass be freezing.
Oh, absolutely. That's not happening. I've actually just learned though, man, to help myself. And I think that comes back around full circle to the self-esteem thing is, you know, I think I was so quick to help others because I didn't see myself as the same value as others, right? Or that I seen in others. I mean, if that makes any sense. So that I didn't see that as far as helping me. So I always put me last. And, you know, being in the sober lifestyle now, that's the one thing I have to do. I have to put myself first and realize it's not selfish. It's, you know, it's self-preservation. And without that, I'll fall right back in the same trap. And I can't do that, man. I can't do it. I refuse to.
And I think we're going to wrap it up with that right there. Ike, hey man, pleasure getting a chance to meet you.
Thanks, man.
I'm going to look forward to sharing more with this guy for all of y'all.
Yeah.
Real soon.